Hi, this is Jim Nilsen of Photography Travel Tours, and today I'm going to talk to you about a technique that I use frequently on my images, kind of towards the end of my processing. Oftentimes, after I've processed an image, I will open it up maybe a year later and I'll look at it and go, there might be a few other things that I can do here. And it is actually demonstrating the NIK plugin, NIK, and it's the Color Efex Pro module in NIK, and I use it in conjunction with Photoshop. You can also use it in Lightroom, and I think maybe even stand alone. A couple of different images that I'll demonstrate here. This particular one in Northeast Italy in Tarvisio. We actually come here in June of every year with our Slovenian Croatia tour at the last night of that tour, although this is in Italy. We ride a gondola up to this location, walk over, and we sleep in one of these little mountain hotels. Of course, when they're in June with our group, it's all green, but it's still a wonderful shot. And the other photo I'll demonstrate is also in Italy, Burano, the island of Burano in Venice. So completely different images, but they're two images that I'm going to apply this effect, which is called Darkened Corners, Lighten Center, for different reasons. So I'll start with the Burano image, Italy. I shoot a lot of this kind of photography, which is basically all about shape and color and composition. So there is really no main subject point or hero in this image. Although I maybe would beg to differ that there is perhaps a little bit of a hero, and that would be this area in here where you have these three shapes and colors coming together with this window, this one little composition. Or this could be a hero, but for the most part, it's an image that the whole image is the hero. It's all flowing together with its shape and colors and composition to be successful. But to me, the image is a little monotonous, and I want to break it up by using some darkening and lightening to draw the eye into a certain area. I'm going to go over here to the Color Efex Pro module in NIK, and I'm going to click that, double click that, and that's going to open up. And when it does open up, you'll see that there's all these different canned effects on the left-hand side that you can use. I don't use very many of them. I use the Darkened Corners, Lighten Center up here, which we're going to demonstrate, and I'm going to use the skylight and the Pro Contrast. I know other people use a lot more of those. These are all techniques that you can do in Photoshop and Lightroom, but this is just a different way of doing it. It's kind of fun, and different ways of skinning the cat, different implements you can use to achieve it. So I double-clicked on the Darkened Lighten Center, and it opens up over here on the right, and it automatically applies the default, which is lightening the center plus 25% and darkening the border by minus 50. And so it's placing the effect right in the center of the image by default. And you can see that it really did something. And it actually is pretty effective in drawing the eye into this area here and breaking up the image a little bit. It's pretty obvious to me that the corners have been darkened. Is that good or bad? Now this is where your judgment comes into play, your artistic judgment. And just because something, an effect is doing something doesn't mean it's good. The whole idea is when you're processing images to do a few things subtly that really help to enhance your image. I think it's a little bit too much on the darkening, so I'm going to bring that darkening effect, I'm going to back it off a little bit to about 28. And it might be a little too light in this area. I'll reduce that a little bit. Another useful thing in this program here is this thing called Place Center. If I activate that by clicking on it, I can actually take and put that center of the effect anywhere I want. So let's come over here to this window and let's just say we think this is the main subject where we want the eye to be drawn. And you can see that it really does emphasize this area on the left. I'll turn it on and off. And, it's actually not bad. I kind of like that too. So, boy, there's so many ways of doing things. Just depends on what you want to achieve. So I'm going to go back to placing the center there. And I think maybe this luminosity is still a little bit too much in the center. But let's just say that we like that. I have to move this over a little bit so I can turn it off without pausing the recording. I actually did this 4 times now because I would accidentally go down there to click OK, and I'd turn off the recording here. So there it is. It's going to open up in Photoshop as a layer. You can see our layover palettes right here. There it is. I can toggle it on and off. And I like that. You could highlight the layer and then go up to opacity and turn the volume down if you think it's too much. You could totally delete that layer if you don't like it at all. Or flatten the image because it does add some size to the file. So overall, I really like what it did. Again, you could do this in Lightroom and Photoshop as well, not using Nik. And but this Darkened Corners and Lighten Center is old darkening technique. Let's go back over to the Monte image. So I think this is a great image. You know, most people will look at it and say, "Wow, it's done." You know, to me, it's a little bit monotonous in its tones and density. So I'm going to try that technique here using Nik, the Color Efex Pro module, and the Darkened Corners Lighten Center effect within Color Efex Pro. We'll open that up. It's going to open up in Darkened Corners Lighten Center because that's the last thing I used. It'll already be open there. It'll actually have the settings that I used on the last image. It won't have the defaults of plus 25 on the center and minus 50 on the corners, on the borders. So I really like Nik. It's a fun software add-on to play with. So again, here it is. Let's just bring it back up to around the defaults that it would normally open up at. And no, center would be 25. You know, right about there. And border would be about 50. So let's see what it looks like here by just applying it right to the center. So you can see it really did a lot. And do you like it or not? I think I like it. I think I like it. It's definitely breaking up the monotonous of the tones. Well, it's a lovely image. You can't go wrong either way. But it might be a little too much on the border again, so I'm gonna reduce the effect on the border, and let's play with placing the center. Let's bring the center right up to about there. And yeah, I like that. I like what it did. So I'm actually going to place the center. I'm going to put it down here and just, let's see, I like it up there a little bit higher. So you can see that I'm moving it around. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm just going to click OK. Again, I want to get away from that pause button and bring it back into Photoshop. So that's it. That's this wonderful tool in Nik, N-I-K. It's the Darkened Corners Lighten Center effect under Color Efex Pro. So I really, really like this tool. I don't use it on every image, but there it is. We'll go back to the layers palette and we'll turn it on and off. You can see the effect. Great. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.